My name is Nicolas Tezas, and on behalf of the NBS Academy team, I would like to welcome you to the webinar, How to Make Nature-Based Solutions Fit into Initial Teacher Education, or ITE for short, programs. This is going to be a 1-hour session, and we will share a lot of reflections and insights about how NBS can actually fit into ITE programs and what role they can have in these programs. My colleague Rocio is also here with us. I'm not here alone. And in case you have any technical difficulty, don't hesitate. Write what the problem is in the chat, and we'll do everything we can to follow up and address the problem. Yes, and for sure, this webinar wouldn't be possible without our speakers. They are the protagonists of today's webinar, and they're truly experts right from the field of teacher training. I'm sure that you will appreciate the reflections and tips that they will share today with us. We would also like to say that this webinar is part of the NBS Academy MOOC, Nature-Based Solutions Training Approaches for Educators and Teacher Trainers, and it's powered by Scientix, the science education community in Europe, and by the NBS Academy project. Yes, before we move any forward, I would like to ask you to take a minute and give us your signatures. You can do this by filling this form, and you can access the form by clicking on this link here and this barcode. Throughout this presentation, you will see that we will present you with a lot of links and QR codes, so feel free to just access it in the way that feels more natural to you. The form is very straightforward. There are only 3 to 4 items there. So I will give us a minute to go through it. I'll do it myself, and we will continue with the presentation right after. And let's talk a little bit about today's agenda. This is basically an overview of this 1 hour that we will share together. We already had some welcoming remarks. And moving ahead, we will pass the floor to the coordinator of the NBS Academy project. She's going to share, her name is Christina, for sure, and she's going to share some reflections about what the project is about. We will move directly to some insights and tips regarding the role of NBS into IT programs. And then we'll pass the floor to the rest of the speakers of today's session, Maria Evagor and Sofia Sergiu from Cyprus. And after their presentation is done, we'll go all the way to Sweden, and Don Sanders from the University of Gothenburg. Right when we hear everything that the experts have to say, right after that, we will have, of course, an audience Q&A session. That's where we are going to ask our experts and pass every question that you are sharing in the chat. And we will end with some closing remarks. So we can enjoy the remaining of the evening. So without further ado, I would like to pass the floor to Christina. I'm really hoping you will enjoy whatever the experts will have to share today.
Thank you very much, Nikolaos. Good afternoon, everyone. I hope that you're all doing well and you are feeling excited, as I also do. I'm very happy that I am here today with you. I'm going to start with an overview of NBS Academy project. I'm the project coordinator, and I'm representing Stimuli for Social Change in this project. So let's start with an overview of what NBS Academy is. NBS Academy is an Erasmus Plus Teacher Academies project consisting of 9 full partners, 13 associated partners. Each duration is 3 years. So we are running the 3rd and final year of the project implementation. And we are 7 countries in this project: Greece, Bulgaria, Cyprus, Germany, Austria, Belgium, and Sweden. And we have 6 pilot regions in the project. So the main aim of NBS Academy is to establish and create a European community of practice consisting of different and multiple stakeholders active in teacher education and nature-based solutions in education. For example, teacher trainers in service, that is to say student teachers, and in-service teachers, policy makers, NBS practitioners. And we are creating this community of practice through collaborative learning communities, through various opportunities. For example, networking sessions, knowledge sharing, because we are also establishing local living labs. I will explain to you in a while. And of course, through joint teacher training opportunities. Our final goal is to integrate and be able to mainstream nature-based solutions in teacher education area. So here is a geographical allocation of our partnership. So as I said previously, we are 7 countries and 9 partners from around Europe. And here we are moving on to the methodological phases of our project. NBS Academy is a 3-year project. So since the beginning of the project, our main objective is to establish this community by developing the mechanisms that will consist of this community. So the first phase was to connect with other stakeholders and move on to this networking building. The second phase consists of the training sessions and a training program we developed in the project in order to support and train and equip teacher trainers with green skills and new knowledge about NBS in teacher education. The next phase is about the development of initial teacher education and continuous professional development programs consisting of 2 joint courses in these 2 areas. These programs, these 2 joint courses are addressed to teachers, and we are running the 4th phase in our project this period, where we will move in few weeks with the piloting session of these joint courses in each pilot country. And of course, the final phase includes actions and activities and strategies that can contribute to the expansion of NBS Academy and its community. And of course, with some policy recommendations that can help and facilitate policymakers and these stakeholders active in this area. Okay, here you can see the specific objectives of our project. As I explained previously, we will start from the left to the right side. Our first goal was to build this network, and gradually through our training programs, joint courses for teachers, we are trying all together as consortium to mainstream the integration of NBS in teacher education. So as you can see in this flow, in this figure, through teacher trainers opportunities, teacher training opportunities, excuse me, and the co-creation of these joint training courses, we have included some other international mobility opportunities. For example, a summer school that we carried out this summer, and a virtual reality mobility activity that will be piloted and implemented in each pilot country this fall. And in this way, we will move on to the testing and validation of joint training courses in order to get feedback from real-life implementation of our courses at pilot level. And we have also developed a MOOC, and this webinar is part of this MOOC. This MOOC, Massive Online Open Courses for Teacher Education, stakeholders, teacher trainers, teachers. And after this activity, we will move on to the policy recommendations part in order to pave the pathway for the mainstreaming and policy actions in this area for the expansion of our community and our outcomes. So, regarding some needs and challenges that our project addresses and emphasizes through our activities, first of all, I would like to highlight the importance of establishing supportive communities around Europe in order to promote and further develop NBS in teacher education. Because from our research phase, during the development phase of this and the application of this project, we observed that there is a lack of supportive communities, and teacher trainers, but also teachers as well, do not have this opportunity to create synergies, to exchange knowledge, to improve their skills, to connect and build synergistic actions. So at the same time, the absence of specialized trainings, both for pre-service and in-service teachers, is also crucial. So this problem, this issue does not facilitate these people, these educational stakeholders further involve and gain the knowledge and skills they need. So most of them are not familiar with NBS education because they don't have the knowledge, the confidence, and the attitude, I would also add, in order to deliver and be confident in deliver and collaborating with other stakeholders in NBS educational activities. So here we move on to an overview of what we have achieved so far in NBS Academy. We have developed, as you can see in this slide, a roadmap by emphasizing on the network mechanisms and, of course, the structure we have developed in order to proceed to establishing this community. So this is one of the first deliverables that we have developed in the project. Next, we have developed an educational framework which includes competence-based educational and pedagogical approaches. And of course, this framework emphasizes on European frameworks, Green Comp and DigComp, in order to give the right guidance to teachers and teacher trainers, understand what skills they need or what pedagogical approaches they can leverage in order to design programs in their area, either initial teacher education or continuous professional development. Of course, we have conducted some research activities in work package 3, in one of the previous work packages, in order to see what are the needs, what are the challenges of teacher trainers in NBS education. And based on those needs, we proceeded with developing a Train the Trainer program consisting of an online training and a training bootcamp that was carried out physically in Gießen, in the city of Gießen in Germany, last summer. So then the next step after training activities involved the establishment of local living labs in each pilot country. So here you can scan the QR code and of course explore in NBS Academy website our deliverables. So in order to save time, I will proceed with some other information. As you know, we have also been running this MOOC about training education in nature-based solutions. So I'm just reminding you that it is still open, so it's a free course consisting of 4 modules. So it's a great opportunity for trainers and teachers to further develop their knowledge and improve their skills in this area. So now I think it's time to be inspired through some additional activities that, from my experience, I would like to highlight today. in NBS education. So I will continue with an experience that I had as project manager in EACEA Goes Green project, another European Erasmus Plus project that focused and was designed with the aim to further involve the integration of nature-based solutions in social economy study programs at university curricula. So through this project, we developed different training tools and resources for social economy educators in higher education area in order to equip them with necessary competencies and skills in order to be able to integrate nature-based solutions and combine this topic into their courses, into their curricula. So here, as you can see, we have developed in that project a curriculum that was addressed to students from social economy study programs in Greece, in Poland, in Croatia, and in Cyprus. In those pilot countries. So in this curriculum, we created 6 modules. They are interrelated. We started with some introductory materials about theory and application of NBS in general, in order to have a base and to have it as a reference point for both for social economy educators and students to understand what is NBS, first of all. Next, we moved on and proceeded with developing a module 2 for challenge-based learning resources in order to facilitate them understand how they can identify urban challenges into their local community. The next module regards solution-oriented learning activities in order to be able to design a plan, a strategy, a collaborative project, and suggest a solution to a specific problem that they have already identified. The other modules relate to joining forces and collaboration mechanisms between social economy educators, social economy organizations, and students in order to enhance also the social and environmental aspect, and of course economic aspect that is necessary when we design these kind of activities. And we also developed a module about how to co-create activities in order to bring together these stakeholders. And this curriculum, I would say, yes, this curriculum was based in during its pilot implementation on a bootcamp methodology, an intensive training methodology that all pilot universities applied in the countries that I mentioned previously. So the aim was to provide this curriculum as a future-oriented curriculum in order to offer both research experience, but also practical strategies and this kind of skills to students in order to be able to put in practice some ideas about NBS application in their curricula. So the goal was to collect some, empirical evidence in any case in order to develop the modules, but also to keep them engaged. Because in the bootcamp activities, the aim was to bring together all these stakeholders in order to put in practice a real-life project at university campus. So the aim was through these co-creation activities to collaborate and apply these co-implementation mechanisms and strategies that we included in this curriculum. So here you can see just an overview, the phases, 3 phases where we piloted this curriculum. It was critical to start with some research activities and identify some needs of students, but also preferences and expectations for the future. because the real-life implementation of curriculum was related to application of co-designed NBS project at their own setting, at their local community. So their feedback, their input was very critical. And of course, we validated this curriculum through evaluation activities. We asked for their feedback during and after the pilot activities in order to assess also the impact of this curriculum. Here you can see some indicative but very important, let's say, pictures of these moments, because all students and teachers worked very hard for the application of this curriculum. This is from the phase A of pilot testing of curriculum, where students were introduced to NBS applications, some case studies. They connected with NBS experts and some inspirational talks. And here you can see some pictures about the piloting activities from bootcamp, local bootcamps. For example, in Greece, University of Macedonia, which was the pilot university in the project, collaborated with students in order, and of course NBS experts and sustainability people who are involved in sustainability and experts in this field, in order to co-design urban gardens at the university. It was very creative and practical session, and they were all excited about this. So at this point, I will come back to NBS Academy and make a short introduction about our course that we developed for initial teacher education. As I described previously in Social Economy Goes Green project, in our project, we also gave emphasis on co-creation of stakeholders and on co-creation of ideas, knowledge sharing. So one of the basic methodologies of NBS Academy is the Living Lab methodology. Based on these methodologies and on some common values that we applied, we developed a course consisting of 6 modules, as you can see on the left side of this slide. This course, as I said, consists of 6 modules, but it includes also 10 weeks. And to facilitate the course's development, University of Nicosia team, as Work Package 4 lead partner, collaborated with the consortium and discussed in order to give some guidance, and in order that each local living lab of NBS Academy project reflects on this courses outline, develop local action plans, and of course we took into consideration the feedback and ideas of all stakeholders. And on this small table, you can see an overview of our modules. We start with introduction to NBS, then with designing and implementing NBS. We have designed lesson plans in Module 3. We focus on challenges and barriers in Module 4. Then we proceed with future directions and innovations in Module 5. And we conclude with a critical part of our courses that refers to assessment of the impact of NBS in education. And of course, this allocation and development was a collaborative process under the great organization and guidance and lead role of University of Nicosia team. So that's all from my side. Thank you very much for your attention. If you have any question, feel free to ask also in the chat. And at this point, I will pass the floor to our University of Nicosia team, Maria and Sofia.
Great, thank you, Christina, and thank you for a great introduction to the project as well. So as Christina has already said, the NBS Academy project is a collaborative process, and also all the materials that have been developed for the project, including materials that have to do with teacher training, both pre-service and in-service teacher training, were developed using the Living Lab methodologies. So in each one of the partner countries, we set up Living Labs with experts, and these experts included teachers, teacher trainers, NBS experts. And those experts, in collaboration, designed the different modules, but at the same time, they designed some lesson plans that can be, they are available to you. You can access them in next month. You can also access them through our website. And these lesson plans were, some of these lesson plans were also implemented with either pre-service teachers, in-service teachers, or students as well. So in this part of the presentation, which is in collaboration with my colleague Sofia Sergiu, we will be talking about one of the lesson plans that was co-developed in Cyprus, and especially about the implementation of this lesson plan and the lesson learned we learned from this implementation, but also a little bit about the theory on which these lesson plans are based. So Sofia is going to start now with some theory about the basis of where we started with the lesson plans, and then she's going to present one of those lesson plans and the implementation.
So hi everyone, as my colleague mentioned, we will start with the theory base of the lesson plans that will be explained later on. The theory is called Thinking Tool, and it consists of 6 steps, as you can see on the slide. But you can keep in mind that you can start at any point of the cycle. The Thinking Tool theory emerged during the development of ready-made materials for teachers to use in order to integrate NBS in the educational process. And while visiting the QR code, you will get more details about the Thinking Tool and see how it is connected with the GreenCom and DigiCom framework created by the European Commission. So feel free to scan the QR code. So based on the Thinking Tool theory, we developed a sequence of 5 lesson plans under the topic of urban heat island effect, which is a challenge facing the local context. What do we mean by urban heat island effect? It basically refers to the phenomenon where urban areas experience significantly higher temperatures than their surrounding rural areas, mainly due to heat-absorbing materials, less greenery, less water, but also due to heat emissions from human activities. So the sequence of the 5 lesson plans start with the exploration of this phenomenon. Then we proceed with the creation of the urban heat island profile as shown in the previous slide. Then they try to propose an NBS on a model idea and then create this model and engage with a local project in order to receive grant to proceed with the solutions presented on the model. The implementation of the lesson plans was conducted with a group of undergraduate students at the university. We started with the implementation of lesson plan 1, which aimed to explore the phenomenon. This lesson plan focused on steps 1 and 2 of the Thinking Tool, which has to do with identifying where there is a risk of climate-related problems arising and establishing a better understanding of it. So the students discussed the relevance of the urban heat island effect in relation to the university. They then measured the temperature of 5 different surfaces with and without sunlight. They presented the data from the investigation on a bar chart and interpreted the data and then draw conclusions based on the result of the investigation. Moving on to lesson plan 2, the aim here was to create the urban heat islands profile. So the students focused on step 2, which has to do with establishing a better understanding of the problem. So the students ranked the different types of surfaces based on data from the previous lessons investigation. They then created a line plot and analyzed and explained trends seen on a chart. Lesson Plan 3 focuses on steps 3, 4, and 5 of the thinking tool theory, which had to do with defining the challenge, looking for solutions, and designing and testing them. So the students got the chance to better understand and explain the cooling effect of plants, then propose nature-based solutions on a model idea, and lastly, discuss their models and agree on a shared one to present in the community for implementation. During lesson plan 4, students created the model they agreed on during the previous lesson and presented it by justifying their choices. At the last lesson plan, the focus here was to present the idea to experts in order to get grant to proceed and test their solutions. The students wrote an invitation for an event, created a brochure for this event, presented the idea to experts, made any necessary changes, and then proceeded testing the idea. So after this lesson, step 6 will be in motion, where they will need to follow up and evaluate the outcome of their ideas after testing it in real life. So these lesson plans not only gave a better understanding of the term NBS to the students, but also engaged them in many different scientific practices, such as questioning, experimentation, exploration, communication, or even conclusion, reflection, and data interpretation. So if you are interested in what we have presented, you can find all the lesson plans presented accompanied with worksheets as well as activity sheets at the QR codes that we will just provide you with. So take a moment to scan the QR code. And thank you all for your attention.
Thank you, Sophia, for these wonderful insights. Without further ado, I would like to invite to the spotlight Dawn, and let's hear everything that she has to share from all the way from Sweden and the University of Gothenburg.
Hey everyone, and Mohammed, I saw you asked in Swedish, hur mår du? Bra tack. So I want to, yes, I am British. I work in a university, Swedish university. So in case you're confused, I want to move, it kind of balances out what Sophia and Maria were talking about. We have also looked at school grounds and schoolyards, and we were interested in nature-based solutions, ideas, and we worked very closely with Helen Ekvall, who's a pedagogue in the local botanic garden. So she was one of our experts that gave advice on our work. And like the UNIC team, we also have worked within the theoretical model of the thinking tool. And we took stage 2 as a sort of theoretical anchor for the work that we're doing around school gardens and NBS. And we were the team that led on the educational framework. So we'd spent a lot of time looking into the DigCom framework and the GreenCom framework of the European Union. But we also looked at other texts as well, and we were interested in the way that different pedagogical approaches could support trainee teachers and teachers to develop nature-based solutions, lessons, and also reflecting on those lessons. So I'm going to focus on the 3 topics that we did our lesson plans on. And you can also connect with these, the sort of more developed plans, using the NBS website and the links that our colleagues in UNIC are putting up. So we were interested in the sort of macro question to start with. So we've tested this like UNIC on our teacher students. And what we've done is we've taken them out into their practicum schools. So rather than using the area around our university, which there isn't much green space because we're right in the middle of town, we do have a park but there is no, we don't have a university garden or grounds. So we wanted to help teacher students really get a sense of what was possible in their practicum schools, so where they were going for their practical training. And one of the things about nature-based solutions is it's about thinking really in terms of not only human interests and relationships, but also how we relate to the more than human world. So the plants, the animals, the geology, the weather, a bigger sense of the spaces in which we're living. So being from within nature rather than outside of nature. So we have developed this idea of making an inventory of the green and the grey spaces in school grounds. And many of you that are teacher students or teachers will often work within urban areas that don't have much green. And I wanted to point out, it's an old book now, but you can still get it on PDF. And it was by a teacher in New York. She was desperate to take her students out into the nature of the city, but realized everything was quite micro. And she also only had 10 to 15 minutes to do her field trips. And so she's done a book called 10-Minute Field Trips. She's called H.R. Russell, and it was in the 1990s, and you can get the PDF for free online. But what she did, and she's left a legacy, is she's made us think about what is possible in terms of doing this work in a city in a short space of time. And she really gets you to think about how the very small things in cities manage to survive and live alongside human life. So the little ferns and the mosses and that live in the cracks in walls, and the things that Oxford ragwort, for instance, that lives on train lines. So one of the things nature-based solutions education does is it makes you open your eyes to the possibilities of living together rather than living separately, and looking at how plants and animals create potential solutions themselves, how they find homes in very built up areas and they manage to survive and form partnerships. So what we've asked in this activity for you to think about is to look at a small area and think about the plants and animals that you find there, and look at the ratio of green to grey and what people are doing in those spaces. So as we're affected by climate change, things are warming up in the city. So what's the effect of the plants to cool the landscape around the school? How many insects are you seeing? Are they changing? And what's happening in terms of the relationship between the insects and the plants? So moving on to the second activity, we wanted to help teachers and they're sort of thinking around, how can I teach about pollination in a more visual, sensory way rather than just showing students pictures of different insects? And one of the biggest problems around human comprehension of pollination is that it's all about the bees. Everyone thinks it's just the bees that do the job. And in fact, it's a very broad range of insects, plus bats and birds. For instance, birds like the color red. So they're attracted to flowers that are pollinated by, that are colored red to pollinate. So this activity, if you're interested in crossing that art-science divide in your work, then this is one where you make a palette that your students can go out and collect different petals and really consider the form and the function of the flower in order to attract those pollinators. But of course, we need to see the bigger picture, because nature-based solutions aren't just about these small little interactive activities. But what is the bigger picture that we're trying to connect to? And in Gothenburg, we have a local project called Sovilda, which is about Helen, the pedagogue from the Botaniska, goes out to different schools and they have packets of seeds of native varieties. They do a mini meadow in their school. And then she also gives them information around identifying the plants and the insects and other pollinators that come to those plants. And she's now part of a bigger EU project called XBio, which is a series of countries around the North Sea that are looking at the relationship between plants and pollinators and extinction. So there's bigger questions here. There's about getting to know your local environment, but these bigger questions of how can we make life better for these pollinating insects that are struggling in climate change. And then the final area that we're working on is food waste is an enormous problem right now. It's an environmental problem that many people are trying to work with, particularly in schools, and trying to educate teachers and their students, and also educate teacher students to then take this work into schools to think about what happens to food waste and how can we do things differently. And one of the issues with building compost areas in schools is you may not have the space, but also they attract rats, which are one of our companion animals in cities, so we don't really want to attract rats. And bokashi comes from Japan. Now, Japanese cities are highly urbanized. The populations live very closely together, often in apartments. So bokashi actually means fermentation, and you can create quite a lot of compost and compost liquid that you can dilute to use on plants and vegetables that you can grow on windowsills and inside the school. Nikolaos, have I got time to show the little video?
Yes, absolutely. Go ahead.
Okay.
We will make
I hope
time.
It works, yeah. So this is a speeded up video of changes in a bokashi bin. And it's also about thinking at different levels. So what we do by using bokashi composting in the classroom is we really think about the different levels upon which biological processes work. And one of the things that we don't know enough about is soil and how the organisms in soil really interact. And within that, the role of fungi and that lovely word, detritivores, little animals that break down things. And creating a sort of fermentation process, you really get a sense of how this work, if you like, is done. And how important it is that we understand the process of composting and fermentation and the changes that food waste goes through and what we can do with it afterwards. So this idea of a cycle of life that we can reuse things to put back into things. So finally, I wanted to end on some questions. I wanted you to think about what kind of challenges you might face in going outside into the spaces around your school areas or your university areas, and what kind of challenges you might find there, and how would you do things differently? And then, do you think that the petal palette is a way to promote thinking about plant shapes and their pollinators? What other activities could you do that could help your students think about plants and their pollinators? For example, drawing could be something, or photographing, doing close-ups with their mobile phones. And what do you think would be the opportunities and challenges in working with bokashi and teacher education? And one of the things I didn't say about the bokashi bin, and it's the age-old problem with composting, is you need to get the balance right between the bran that you add and the food waste that you put in. The good thing about bokashi is you can add cooked food, but it can go off. It can create bad smells. So you have to have a good relationship between those two things. But the idea of all these lessons is to get you thinking about the small parts that make up the whole and how we can learn from nature, but also work with nature in our education programs. I look forward to your questions.
Thank you, Dawn. Thank you. Well, this is officially the third, let's say, and final part of the webinar. This is the beginning of the questions and answers session. I really wanted to thank all of you for your insights, your experiences, and your reflections. I do hope that the participants that are taking part in this webinar, by the end of it, and after listening to everything that you had to share, they will now have more tools, let's say, more motivation to create something during the work that they're being asked to create as part of this MOOC. So that's the moment we've been waiting for. I do have some questions for you. I have some general ones, and then given time exists, I will move on to some more particular ones to each of you. And I would like to begin with some questions that the participants left in the MOOC platform. We allocated a specific space for them so they can write down everything that they are interested in hearing, all their expectations for the webinar. And for sure, if they have any question, we advise them to put it there. So I'm going to start with these questions. And there were quite many there, and I tried to compile them and categorize them, let's say, bring them together. And one question that kept coming again and again is, what are basically the main challenges or the biggest challenges that you as experts see in relation to bringing NBS into ITE programs? This is a general question, so you can just take the lead, unmute yourself, and provide with an answer.
I can start, Nicola. So
thank you.
I think that one of the main challenges is linked to the challenges that have to do with STEM education as well, because similar to STEM education, NBS is not part of the formal curriculum within the schools. So based on our experience working with teachers, it seems to be much easier for early childhood and primary school teachers to include NBS education within their teaching, because they have ways to connect the different subjects and integrate it within the topics they're teaching already. But it seems to be more difficult for secondary education because it doesn't fit directly with one of the topics that are taught in the curriculum, but it has to go across with all.
And as we all know, sadly, especially with this kind of age group, we're looking closer to, well, we're shifting the focus to more assessment and end results rather than the learning process and really diving into authentic learning. I don't know if the rest of you would like to share anything on what Maria provided as her reflection. Because something that I would like to ask you is, this is something that definitely exists, and it exists in many contexts and in many countries. And I would like to ask you whether you've seen any kind of successful way to address this.
I think we have integrated it in our primary school teacher training in Gothenburg, but probably because there is a clear sustainability framework within our education, and we've managed to attach it to that. However, we still have had to think about time. One of the issues is that our contact hours with our teacher students have been diminished. So it's all about what fits into the program. And when we did the online that Christina talked about, the Gießen bootcamp, we had an online workshop before that. And the group that I work with, who were mainly from Austria, actually, they talked a lot about the curriculum and how trying to fit things into the curriculum, as Maria said, was an issue. So I think one of the biggest challenges for us is finding ways of integrating into different country curriculums. And I remember we were all interested in Bulgaria and the way that the pedagogical policy people actually did form conversations with people training teachers and continuing professional development for teachers. So I think one of the things, so we don't get into a doom and gloom, is we can look for examples across Europe and across the world where these have been integrated and how we've got that policy practice connection working.
Absolutely. And I believe that this is also one of the greatest strengths of well, in this case, European project. But as you said, we can take inspiration from examples throughout the world. And through this collaboration, when countries when organizations or universities represent the countries and systems, they come together and they work together, they can really share a lot of, best practices, troubleshooting advices, and so on. Thank you for this. Well, another question, a bit more particular. So I will again consider this a general question. Is one left by a participant interested in preschool education. And this participant asked us, how can ITE programs prepare preschool teachers to bring NBS to little children? So we're talking about preschool education here. Of course, there are different kind of approaches there. What could be, let's say, a first step in order to bring NBS education to teachers being trained to work with little ones?
Again, I can start, and then the rest can add if they want.
That's what I want.
So we have experience with teachers working with younger students, and when they first started the training, what they reflected on is that what you're presenting to us are things that we're doing, but we're not doing them in a very connected way to reflect the process of nature-based solutions. So we're doing some experimentation that has to do with collecting evidence related to the temperature in the school. We're doing some modeling, we're doing some dissemination, but then they didn't have this line of thinking that we have within the thinking tool as well. So I think that the thinking tool is a really good starting point for all the age groups, but particularly for the younger ages as well. And because they have this space and this flexibility within the curriculum, I think that they can be supported to follow a line of investigation, again, using the thinking tool as a starting point.
That's an excellent bridge for me, because one of the, moving on to questions that were asked in the chat, one participant referred to the thinking tool. And well, the thinking tool is something that anyone can use when creating an NBS approach. And regarding the first step of the thinking tool, which is all about, let's say, identifying a problem area, it can often be the case that there are many problems, let's say. We see in many contexts, the problems can be more than one. So the question is, how do you choose one? How do you prioritize? Based on your experience or the things you know, what would be the answer to that?
From Gothenburg, we focused on school gardens because we were doing a lot of work in that area, and we had partnerships within that area, and particularly around things like pollination, because we were involved in Sorvilda, the pollination project that the Botanic Garden were involved with. But the reason I looked down when you were answering, Maria, is I was looking at, because two of your early years students attended the summer school in Greece, and I was looking at their final piece of work. And I thought it was interesting that their lesson objectives were to support students to understand the idea of biodiversity and its importance to nature, to recognize natural elements in the environment, plants, trees, insects, but to demonstrate an art-based approach ideas for nature and greenery. So I think one of the things we need to discuss as well within this context is how can working across the curriculum and using art as a tool to get into science is quite important. And going back to deciding on which question, well then if we're taking the co-creation approach that Christina spoke about, then surely could we not try and use some democratic means in our classrooms and get students to debate and think about what are the important questions here, and then think from the perspective of an insect, for instance, trying to find a pollination opportunity, or thinking about some kind of organism needing more water than another organism. What are the problems with that in a time of climate change? Or even how can we keep cool in the middle of summer in a schoolyard that has very little shade? Because some of the countries that are participating today, you have horrendous summer temperatures, and it's getting worse because of climate change. So I think that we can make that a sort of co-creation activity, choosing the challenges and working with teachers, students, working with teachers, and even working with quite small children.
Thank you, Dawn. Indeed, it is a struggle, but I do believe that with the proper, let's say, even before choosing how to begin, something essential is, as you mentioned, being there and wanting to make a difference. It's all about your position towards these things, and if will exists, the rest will come. I really have a lot of questions to ask, but it's already close, almost 6, so I'll have to stop the Q&A session here. I hope that people going back to this presentation will be able to brainstorm and answer, or gain a more deeper perspective about the things they're wondering. But yeah, something quickly, as we discussed before, the NBS Academy MOOC is currently ongoing. It's going to end on the 15th of October, and actually at the moment we are going through module 2, so there's still time. Make sure to register, and we are also going to make sure you get access to a lot of guidance, knowledge, and tools. If you want more insights and reflections, as I said, there are many more questions to be answered here. Make sure also to follow us to the second MOOC webinar, and this time our focus will be what role can NBS have into teachers' continuous professional development programs. So we're shifting from ITE to CPD programs, and the journey continues. We're going to have more insights, more questions to be answered, and yes, join us and stay for the ride. Regarding live events, we also have another one, a third one, the Teach Meet. And the Teach Meet is particular because it is made by you as participants of the MOOC for you. And that means that it's completely, all presentations are created and given by participants, exclusive participants to the MOOC. It's going to occur on Tuesday, the 30th of September. And if you're interested in sharing your examples, your NBS examples from teacher training, from the aspect of teacher training or NBS education in general, make sure to follow this link and register as a speaker. A few words also, a very good opportunity to connect with other practitioners from around the world and celebrate education is to follow the STEM Discovery Campaign, the 2026 STEM Discovery Campaign. The SDC celebrates and promotes STEM education by inviting teachers and educators to come together, create activities, and then share them with the world. Then it rewards outstanding entries by different awards, exciting workshops, prizes, and other opportunities to network. There is going to be an award powered by the NBS Academy project, and something that is relevant to all SDCs. They run annually from February until April, and they're all organized by Scientix. So make sure to stay tuned and see what's there regarding the SDC. And that's the end of our ride for today. If you haven't had the chance to give us your signatures, please do so by filling this form. It doesn't take more than a minute. And in this way, we're able to continue with webinars like this one. I really want to thank everyone for your time today. Enjoy the rest of the evening. Enjoy your learning through the MOOC. And a special thank you to all our speakers today. We traveled through many countries, different contexts, and we had the chance to go and explore different insights. I really believe that by having experts directly in the field of ITE programs, we are really able to get a deeper perspective about the role that NBS can have in IT programs. So thank you again, and see you soon.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks a lot. Bye.
Thank
Bye,
you, Nicholas.
everyone.
Thanks to all our speakers. Bye-bye.
Bye, Chiara.